1. Loretta Young's hidden daughter, Judy, and Clark Gable's secret love. In the 1930s, superstar Loretta Young secretly gave birth to a daughter, Judy Lewis, after a whirlwind affair with Clark Gable. Young was a devout Catholic and knew an unwed pregnancy could ruin her career. For months, tiny Judy was hidden in an orphanage to keep the secret. Loretta even told Judy she was adopted and quietly had Judy's ears surgically pinned back so no one would guess Clark was her dad. Judy only learned the truth at age 31 when a fiancé blurted out, "Your father is Clark Gable." It was a heartbreaking shock. She had spent years thinking she was an ordinary adopted child. Loretta finally admitted the truth after her death in 2000. Judy described growing up an outsider in my own family, filled with hurt and abandonment at being lied to. This secret of Shirley Temple's gospel-singing friend showed how far Hollywood stars went to hide forbidden love. 2. Patricia Neal's tragic pregnancy and Gary Cooper's betrayal. In the late 1940s, beloved actress Patricia Neal became pregnant by her husband Roald Dahl's friend, actor Gary Cooper. Dahl was a war hero and loving husband, but Neal found herself unexpectedly expecting Cooper's baby. Cooper, who was married, pressured Neal into an abortion. According to the Tennessee Encyclopedia, Neal endured an illegal abortion at Cooper's request because a public baby would have destroyed her career. The secret procedure shattered Neal. She later suffered a nervous breakdown and ended up in shock treatments in a sanitarium. Neal never publicly named Cooper, but the pain lingered. Her daughter Olivia was born crippled, and Neal later divorced Dahl partly due to stress. In her autobiography, Neal wrote simply that, "The beginning of wisdom is realizing how small you are," hinting at the hidden sufferings behind Hollywood's glamour. 3. Joan Crawford's dark studio secret. Great star Joan Crawford suffered a heartbreaking secret early in her career. In 1931, while estranged from her husband, she had a passionate affair with Clark Gable and became pregnant. But MGM studio boss Irving Thalberg, who controlled Crawford's career, arranged Joan Crawford's abortion on New Year's Eve 1931, even in Clark's presence. Crawford, on the studio's orders, was whisked away and told the baby's father might have been Gable. In a recording years later, Clark Gable joked Thalberg would have ended my career in 15 minutes if Gable left Hollywood for Crawford's sake. Crawford obeyed studio orders and never publicly spoke of the child. The pain and secrecy took a heavy toll. As author Neil Sinyard notes, Crawford's career soared after this dark chapter, but behind the scenes she survived a series of scandals and ordeals that never made the headlines. 4. Jean Harlow's hidden pregnancies and abortions. Blonde bombshell Jean Harlow also had secret tragedies. In 1935, while married to her cinematographer husband, Harlow had an affair with boxer Max Baer and became pregnant. Baer's jealous wife threatened to expose Harlow. Fearing ruin, Harlow staged a fake appendectomy in a hospital and secretly underwent an abortion. A year later, she fell for actor William Powell, who refused to marry her. Once again, Harlow ended her pregnancy in secret. She checked into a hospital as Mrs. Jean Carpenter, so no one would link it to Jean Harlow. Harlow's nightclub background girl image masked a heartbroken woman repeatedly pressured to choose between motherhood and her career. Sadly, she died of kidney failure in 1937 at just 26 years old. Those few Hollywood insiders who knew of Harlow's secret losses were sworn to silence, making her struggles one of the era's worst-kept secrets. 5. Jeanette MacDonald's studio abortion shame musical star, Jeanette MacDonald, had a heartbreaking secret in 1935. According to studio historian Forgotten Hollywood, MacDonald had just broken off her engagement to co-star Nelson Eddy and married actor Gene Raymond when she became pregnant. MGM sex control agent Howard Strickling quietly intervened. He arranged for Jeanette to fly to New York and obtain an illegal abortion so the pregnancy would never be linked to Hollywood. At the same time, MacDonald was carrying on a passionate affair with Hollywood boss Louis B. Mayer. All three relationships were tangled in secrecy. She was newlywed on paper to Raymond, her heart with Mayer, and her career on the line with MGM. Jeanette never publicly discussed this hidden pregnancy, and later had 2 other children. In her diaries after World War II, she hinted at the pain of that era, simply writing that, "I was too young and in the wrong place to handle all the pressure." 6. Judy Garland's heartbreak and MGM's cold orders. "Some days you just can't get rid of a bomb," Judy Garland once joked, but at MGM she had to carry secrets in silence. In 1941, Judy eloped with bandleader David Rose without MGM's permission. When she discovered she was pregnant, MGM's infamous press agent Howard Strickling again swept in. Strickling arranged a secret late-term abortion on a trip to Las Vegas and made Judy promise to lie about it. She returned to filming For Me and My Gal as if nothing happened. 2 years later, Judy had a torrid affair with married star Tyrone Power. When Power wouldn't divorce his wife, Judy again became pregnant and agreed to another hidden abortion under studio supervision. Always pushing onward, Judy never spoke publicly of these losses. Decades later, she told interviewer David Kaufman that MGM cared most about getting me back to work, not about her pain. Judy later named her daughter Liza, saying Liza was the one that finally stayed, as if apologizing for the others she could never keep. 7. Bette Davis's costly career-building choice. Daring actress Bette Davis, known for her fierce ambition, also hid heartbreak. In her 1934 memoir and the biography The Girl Who Walked Home Alone, Davis admitted she had several abortions to keep her career moving. One was especially painful. She terminated a pregnancy so she could play the leading role in Of Human Bondage, the part that earned her first Oscar nomination. Davis later reflected that role was the biggest in her life, but achieving it cost her a child. After her success, she went on to have 3 sons, bearing her first at age 39. For years, the public saw only the glamorous side. Davis quietly managed the pain of lost pregnancies and the complex choice of motherhood versus stardom. Author Charlotte Chandler wrote that Davis never regretted her career choices, insisting women without children could still live full lives. Yet behind closed doors, Davis mourned what might have been, even as Hollywood cheered her triumphs. 8. Ava Gardner's secret abortion. While married to Sinatra, legendary beauty, Ava Gardner made a dark bargain for stardom. In the early 1950s, while married to Frank Sinatra, she discovered she was pregnant. Sinatra was struggling in his career, so Ava knew the baby might condemn them both to poverty. MGM would not allow stars to have babies at that time. It meant lost income. As Ava explained in The Golden Girls of MGM, she made the agonizing choice, and the studio arranged a discreet abortion in London. She said, MGM made all the arrangements. Someone from the studio was with me all the time. The abortion was hush-hush, very discreet. Frank Sinatra never knew of this secret. Years later, Ava told biographer Jane Ellen Wayne that she had done what I had to do to survive. The hidden loss haunted her. She would later lament that Hollywood was unforgiving and unmerciful to women who dared risk motherhood for their careers. 9. Lana Turner's Hollywood nightmares, cold and heartbreaking. Glamorous actress Lana Turner had not one, but two secret abortions, each almost unbearable. In 1941, on her honeymoon with big band musician Artie Shaw, Lana fainted and discovered she was pregnant. MGM's agents quickly sent Lana, her mother, and her agent on a fake tour to Hawaii, really to cover for an abortion performed in her hotel room without anesthesia. Lana's own mother held a rag to Lana's mouth to hide her cries. The studio doctor got $500 to perform the inhumane, no-painkiller abortion. Lana recovered and was back filming in a week, still smiling for the cameras while hiding a bleeding heart. 6 years later, in 1947, Lana's secret life stayed hidden when she again became pregnant, this time by married star Tyrone Power. Another abortion was carried out silently, so none of the gossip columnists would know. Through it all, Turner's star shone bright. But in private, she never forgot those cold tours to nowhere and the secret tears she and her family shed behind studio doors. 10. Tallulah Bankhead's Wild Abortion Secrets. Countless people called Tallulah Bankhead absolutely hysterical, but one Hollywood biographer noted that Bankhead's wild sense of humor masked very real pain. Tallulah's close friend and writer Lee Israel said Bankhead got abortions like other women got permanent waves. Tallulah, a Broadway and screen star, admitted in her own memoir that she'd had so many abortions she lost count. Each one was arranged quietly to protect her career. She was a free spirit who smoked and drank and charmed everyone, but inside, each hidden loss cut deep. In interviews late in life, Bankhead would joke about anything, but friends say she cried alone sometimes, remembering children she never got to raise. Tallulah's secret records were never public, but the phrase about permanent waves hints at the heavy cost even the most carefree stars paid for fame. 11th. Lupe Velez's tragic choice, to die, not abort. Mexican actress Lupe Velez made the most desperate choice of all. In 1944, she became pregnant by Austrian actor Harold Ramond, who refused to marry her. Velez was devastated. Abortion was illegal and going to prison was unthinkable. In her anguish, she told nobody. Instead, Lupe made herself sick, taking overdoses of sleeping pills and whiskey. On New Year's Eve, she was found dead in her home with a note to a friend, explaining she had had enough. Lupe's death was ruled suicide. Her tragic end was a secret for decades. Studios and family quietly whispered that she had suffered from mood swings. But historian George Beauchamp uncovered the truth. Heartbroken Lupe preferred death over losing her baby, believing at the time there was no other escape. It is one of Hollywood's saddest, unspoken stories, a young star tortured in silence, taken by her own hidden despair. 12th. Marion Davies's secret heiress, William Randolph Hearst's child. Movie queen Marion Davies was known as fun-loving and devoted to her mentor-turned-lover, newspaper tycoon William Randolph Hearst. But only her closest friends knew this shocking secret. Marion got pregnant by Hearst in the late 1920s, and she never aborted. Instead, she quietly gave the baby girl to her own sister Rose and brother-in-law, raising the girl as their daughter. The girl, Patricia Lake, grew up believing Rose was her mother. Rumors swirled for decades that Patricia was really Marion's daughter, but no one confirmed it until much later. Marion left Patricia millions in her will, and Patricia herself once admitted she believed Hearst was her father. For years, Hollywood managers and relatives all pretended Patricia was just Marion's niece. When Marion died in 1961, the secret quietly went with her. Patricia spent her life wondering, and at age 72, she finally said publicly that Hearst was indeed the truth. This tale of a hidden baby shows how powerful people can hide even the closest kin behind a curtain of lies. 13. Marlene Dietrich. Abortion was our birth control. International diva. Marlene Dietrich once spoke bluntly about Hollywood's dark reality. In a famous interview, she quipped, "Abortion was our birth control." For Dietrich, who was married but had many lovers, an unplanned pregnancy would spell career ruin. While we can't prove she personally had abortions, her words echoed a hidden truth. Many glamorous actresses quietly faced unwanted pregnancies. Dietrich's admission revealed how abortion was a constant, unspoken part of film life. She bravely compared it to something ordinary, like getting a hair perm, hinting at how casual and common it had become for studio stars to end pregnancies in secret. By speaking out, Dietrich peeled back the Hollywood facade. Behind every smiling starlet could lie a secret of loss she wouldn't publicly discuss. 14. Marilyn Monroe's orphan childhood secret. Marilyn Monroe's story seems like a fairy tale of stardom, but her real childhood was quite dark. She was born Norma Jean Mortensen and never knew her father. Her mother, Gladys Baker, was mentally ill and could not care for her. Biographers say Marilyn often told the world she was an orphan in foster care, but in truth, Gladys was alive. Norma Jean bounced between foster homes and even briefly lived with her mother until Gladys was first hospitalized. In 1952, a reporter found Gladys working at a nursing home, shattering Marilyn's public lie of complete orphanhood. Growing up this way left Marilyn with deep abandonment issues. She inherited her famous mother's looks, but not her stability. Yet, despite feeling unloved as a child, Marilyn went on to become a beloved screen star. Decades later, friends noted Marilyn still visited her mother in the mental hospital whenever she could, and kept her close, as if trying to heal the wound of that long-hidden family secret. 15. Jean Tierney's dying baby and lifelong pain actress Jean Tierney harbored a heartbreaking secret: the death of her own daughter. In 1943, Tierney contracted German measles while pregnant, and her baby Daria was born extremely premature, partly blind, deaf, and severely disabled. Tierney and her husband decided Daria should have the best care possible. Wealthy Howard Hughes even paid her medical bills. But Tierney could not handle raising a child with such severe problems. Though she loved Daria, Tierney quietly placed her baby into a children's home. This loss was never publicly discussed. Years later, Tierney suffered mental breakdowns and was treated in institutions. Psychologists say she was haunted by guilt and grief over baby Daria. In interviews, she admitted she felt her own life never was the same after that day. By hiding Daria's existence and sending her away, Tierney lived with a private shame that was her constant agony. Friends recall Tierney could not even look at a picture of her daughter without crying. This is a story of a mother's unspoken sorrow, sacrificed in silence for what she believed was the child's best chance. 16. Merle Oberon's secret identity and scandalous birth. Hollywood star Merle Oberon carried a secret from birth. In public, she invented a story that she was born in Tasmania and raised by godparents in India. The truth was far darker. Oberon was born in Bombay in 1911 to parents who were half Indian and half Maori. Even more scandalous, her father, Arthur Thompson, had had a sexual relationship with her mother, Constance, when Constance was only 12 years old. To hide this, Oberon was raised by her grandmother in India and told that her mother, Constance, was actually her older sister. If Hollywood studios or the world knew Oberon was biracial and born of an incestuous relationship, her career might have ended. So Oberon maintained the lie of her Tasmanian birth throughout her life. Only decades later did biographers reveal the painful truth. Merle herself was always tender toward her grandmother, Mother, never publicly revealing the family shame she had hidden beneath her glamorous image. 17. Jane Russell's Irish Baby and Howard Hughes's Fury. In 1952, Western movie star Jane Russell made international headlines with a very secret adoption. Already wife and mother to one child, Jane wanted another. She quietly arranged with a young Irish woman, Hannah McDermott, to adopt her infant son, Thomas, in London. When news of the adoption broke, British and American press called it a scandal, accusing Jane of baby stealing. Howard Hughes, who had made Jane a star, was furious, warning that the bad publicity would finish her. He demanded Jane return the boy to appease the judges. But Jane stood her ground in court and refused to give Thomas up. She eventually legally adopted him, naming him Terry. Years later, Jane wrote that Hannah wanted him to have a good home, out of love for her child. This secret adoption nearly cost Jane her career, but it also showed her courage. She defied Hollywood's kingpin and the gossips to keep her beloved son. 18. Cary Grant's painful childhood secret. Even Hollywood's smoothest star hides pain. Cary Grant, famous for North by Northwest, was born Archibald Leach in England. As a boy, he was told his mother had died. Decades later, he discovered the truth. His mother, Elsie, had been committed to a psychiatric hospital for schizophrenia and was alive until 1948. Grant learned of this only through a memoir, written by his daughter Jennifer. As The Guardian recounts, Cary grew up believing he was an orphan, never knowing why his real mother was gone. This childhood deception hurt him deeply. He later said he suffered repression and extraordinary reinvention throughout his life because of the lies he'd been told. On set, he was charming and witty, but off-camera, Cary battled abandonment feelings. He was so impacted by this secret that the producer of a new TV series about his life used his daughter's memories to show how much Grant had repressed his past. His story is a reminder. Even a Hollywood icon may have a family secret as dark as any lurid movie plot. 19. John Seberg and the FBI's fake pregnancy bombshell young actress Jean Seberg became entangled in an FBI smear campaign that ended in tragedy. In 1970, the FBI secretly leaked a false story to the press claiming Seberg was pregnant with a Black Panther's child. This was pure fabrication, targeting Seberg because of her activism. When John heard the story, she collapsed into early labor. The baby was stillborn. The shock of the lie and loss left Jean heartbroken. Her husband, Romain Gary, said Jean became psychotic after hearing the false news. She later repeatedly attempted suicide on anniversaries of her child's death. Jean never publicly condemned the FBI, but in private, she grieved for the baby they claimed as theirs. This cruel secret was a dark twist on the studio cliches, a heroine destroyed not by love or scandal, but by government lies. Her final letter made it clear. Hollywood had lost a beautiful star who bore a horrible secret pain that no biography had ever told. 20. Jean Tierney's lost daughter, a mother's hidden sorrow. Lovely actress Jean Tierney was haunted by a secret heartbreak. In 1943, she contracted German measles while pregnant at a USO show. Her daughter Daria was born severely disabled, blind, deaf, and mentally impaired. Jean and her husband Howard returned Daria to New York and arranged for her care in a children's home far from the public eye. Jean never spoke about the child. In private letters, Jean confessed she could not cope with Daria's condition. She eventually left Hollywood and sought psychiatric help, suffering guilt and depression over her perfect baby, spoiled by fate. When Jean died in 1991, the truth came out. Daria had lived her whole life apart from her mother, supported anonymously by Jean's estate. This hidden loss was Jean's shame. In old age, she visited Daria on the sly and sprinkled their visits with pennies so her daughter would always have good luck. Jean Tierney carried this secret alone, a mother's sorrow that was far deeper than any Hollywood romance. 21. Tyrone Power's secret son. The dark truth in his family. Perhaps one of Hollywood's great taboos was the existence of illegitimate children. Actor Tyrone Power never married Jane Greer, despite years of love. He secretly fathered a son during their affair, but to protect all involved, the pregnancy was quietly ended. Greer insisted she never spoke publicly of that time. Power married Linda Christian and had 2 children, and no one acknowledged any others. Hollywood's Latin lover simply vanished his secret. Only decades after Power's death did people whisper about the child who might have been. Even now, decades later, families in Hollywood sometimes have rumors like this, kept quiet by those who remember, reminders of scars buried under the glitz